The Stoics, through their enduring pursuit of wisdom, developed a profound understanding of human nature, particularly the psychology of attraction. While their philosophy was rooted in reason, the Stoics knew that emotions, desires, and attachments play an undeniable role in human relationships. In their careful observations, they saw patterns emerge in behavior, especially between men and women. Today, we're going to tap into that ancient wisdom to explore why, sometimes, ignoring women can make them care more. This may sound counterintuitive, but there's a deep psychological reasoning behind it. And when understood properly, it can offer you an advantage in navigating modern relationships. Watch until the end, because we're going to cover 7 key reasons why ignoring a woman can make her think about you more and crave your attention. These insights are inspired by Stoic principles, but will be delivered in a very direct, provocative manner. If this resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own stories in the comments. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Women want an alpha male. Women have always been drawn to strength, both physical and emotional. From the survival-driven days of ancient times to the complexities of today's world, women instinctively gravitate toward men who exude confidence, control, and independence. These traits are the foundation of what society often refers to as the alpha male. However, before we dive into the stereotypical idea of an alpha, a loud, aggressive, and domineering figure, let's refine that image. The Stoics, who were masters of self-control and inner strength, would have understood the true alpha male as someone who is not a brute, but rather a man who commands respect through composure, presence, and self-mastery. The alpha male, in its truest sense, is not defined by how much attention he demands, but by how much control he has over his desires and emotions. And this is precisely why ignoring women, or being selectively indifferent, works so effectively. An alpha male doesn't chase after validation because he understands his own value. He doesn't need constant affirmation from others to feel good about himself, and women pick up on this. His sense of self-worth is deeply rooted, which makes him scarce with his attention. This scarcity drives women wild because it triggers a fundamental truth: people want what they can't easily have. Why does ignoring a woman trigger such a strong response? It's simple. Alpha males don't give their energy away freely. They know that their time, their attention, and their emotional investment are valuable. When a man stops responding to every text immediately, or he doesn't leap at every opportunity to spend time with her, he sends a powerful message. That message says, "I have my own life. I am in control. I am not here to cater to you at every moment." This triggers curiosity and intrigue in women. She starts wondering why this man isn't reacting like every other man. Why hasn't he fallen for her yet? Why doesn't he seem desperate to win her approval? This subtle distancing causes her to want him more. Let's dive into why this works. Most men, when they're interested in a woman, immediately shower her with attention, affection, and compliments. They believe that by proving their devotion early on, they'll win her over. But this approach often has the opposite effect. It communicates neediness. Women can sense when a man is overly eager to please, and it can be a huge turn-off. The Stoics understood the dangers of being controlled by external desires. They preached self-restraint and mastery over one's impulses. An alpha male who practices this restraint in his interactions with women comes across as strong, self-assured, and, most importantly, rare. Now, this doesn't mean that ignoring a woman equates to treating her poorly or being rude. It's about balance. The alpha male understands that his worth doesn't depend on the approval of any one person, male or female. He is content with his own company and his own pursuits, and this independence is what makes him so attractive. When a woman realizes that a man isn't desperately vying for her attention, she starts to see him differently. He becomes a challenge. And as we all know, People, especially women, are drawn to challenges. The psychology behind this is rooted in scarcity. Think about anything in life that is readily available. People tend to take it for granted. But when something is scarce, its value skyrockets. Women are no different. When you are constantly available, responding to every text immediately, bending over backward to meet her needs, you become too accessible. There's no mystery, no tension, no intrigue. But when you pull back, when you're not always within reach, she starts to feel that scarcity. And that's when she begins to crave your attention. The Stoics believed that true strength lies in controlling one's emotions and desires rather than being controlled by them. In the realm of relationships, this concept applies perfectly. A man who practices restraint, who doesn't let his attraction for a woman dictate his every move, demonstrates emotional maturity and self-discipline. This is incredibly appealing to women. It shows them that you are not a slave to your desires, that you're capable of making decisions based on reason, not just passion. Let's look at the contrast. The man who is constantly texting, constantly available, constantly seeking validation from a woman comes across as weak. His need for her approval becomes transparent, and once a woman senses that desperation, she loses respect for him. In her eyes, he's no longer a man in control, he's a man driven by his need to be liked, to be wanted, to be validated. And nothing is more unattractive to a woman than a man who lacks self-worth. Ignoring a woman doesn't mean ghosting her or playing manipulative mind games. It's about creating a healthy distance. It's about showing her that while you're interested, you're not going to compromise your own life, your own values, or your own time to chase after her. This is what sets an alpha male apart from the rest. He doesn't need her validation to feel whole, and that's what makes him irresistible. When you embody these traits, you naturally exude an aura of confidence that women can't resist. Women want a man who seems just out of reach, someone they have to work for. When you're not always available, when you're not showering her with attention, she starts to feel the pull. She starts to wonder why you're different. And in that wondering, she begins to think about you more. You become the exception, the man who stands apart from all the others who are eager to please. This is the essence of the alpha male. He doesn't need to chase after women because women chase after him. He's calm, composed, and in control of his emotions. He doesn't let his desire for a woman cloud his judgment or dictate his behavior. And that's why ignoring women, when done with intention and respect, makes them care more. It's not about playing games, it's about showing that you value yourself, your time, and your energy. When a woman sees that you're not just another man who will do anything to get her attention, she realizes that you're a man worth pursuing. In the end, it's about setting yourself apart. It's about becoming the man who doesn't rely on the approval of others to feel good about himself. Women will naturally be drawn to that kind of strength. And as the Stoics knew, true strength comes from within, from mastering your desires, controlling your impulses, and always remaining calm under pressure. That is the essence of the alpha male. And that is why ignoring women in the right way makes them care right away. Chapter 2: Women want validation or compliments. Let's face it, women, like men, crave validation. It's a basic human need to feel valued and appreciated, and many women are conditioned from a young age to seek validation through attention, compliments, and approval from others. Whether it's through social media, where they can easily rack up likes and comments on a single photo, or in social interactions where men constantly shower them with compliments, validation is something women often expect. However, here's where the Stoics' understanding of human nature comes into play. They believed in controlling emotions and not being swayed by external forces. Stoicism teaches that to live a fulfilling life, one must not depend on the opinions or approval of others. This idea applies directly to how men should handle interactions with women. The man who constantly compliments a woman or excessively validates her desires is, in essence, giving away his power. He becomes just another man in the crowd, easily swayed by beauty or charm. Ignoring a woman, or at least withholding overt compliments, instantly sets you apart. When a woman is used to getting validation from every man she meets, the one man who doesn't fall into that pattern becomes the exception. He becomes the puzzle she wants to solve. It's a shift in dynamic. Instead of you chasing her for validation, she begins chasing you. Why? Because you're not giving her what she expects, and this creates a psychological gap that she feels compelled to close. In today's world, where instant gratification is the norm, a man who doesn't immediately shower a woman with attention is seen as a challenge. A compliment from such a man, when it finally comes, feels earned and therefore holds more weight. When you ignore the impulse to validate her right away, it creates a sense of intrigue. She'll start wondering why you haven't complimented her, why you seem indifferent when everyone else is so eager to please. The psychology here is simple. Women often measure their self-worth through external validation, and when you withhold that validation, it forces her to seek it from you. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive, it's about balance. You're not ignoring her existence, you're merely not placing her on a pedestal. You're communicating, whether consciously or unconsciously, that your attention and compliments are valuable, not something you give away freely. Now, this approach does more than just spark her interest. It also establishes a dynamic where you're seen as a man who values himself. The Stoics believed that self-respect and inner worth were crucial to living a virtuous life. By not being quick to validate a woman's beauty or actions, you demonstrate that you don't need to appease others to feel good about yourself. This is attractive because it shows strength. A man who knows his own worth doesn't feel the need to endlessly prove it through flattery. Women are used to being complimented on their looks, their charm, or their personality. When you're the one man who doesn't give that validation right away, it shifts the power dynamic. Instead of you vying for her attention, she starts wondering what she needs to do to win yours. It's basic psychology. People want what they feel they can't easily get. A Stoic man understands that true validation comes from within. He doesn't need to flatter someone else to feel good about himself. By withholding validation, you not only set yourself apart but also force her to think about you more. Why? Because now she's chasing that validation from you. And once she's emotionally invested in seeking your approval, you shifted the power dynamic in your favor. Compliments, when used sparingly, can be powerful. But the man who is constantly doling them out loses his edge. Women aren't attracted to men who make themselves too available, too easy to read, or too desperate to please. They want a challenge. They want a man whose attention and validation they have to work for. By ignoring her need for immediate validation, you create that challenge. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about understanding human nature and using that understanding to navigate relationships. The Stoics would have seen this as an exercise in self-control. Just as they practiced restraint in their own desires, they would recognize the power of restraint when it comes to giving away attention and validation. When you hold back, you become more valuable in her eyes. And the moment she begins seeking validation from you, the tables turn, and you're no longer chasing her approval, she's chasing yours. Chapter 3: Women want what they can't have. One of the most fundamental truths about human nature is that we desire what is just out of our reach. Whether it's the latest tech gadget, a coveted job position, or in this case, a romantic interest, people are naturally drawn to things that seem difficult to attain. This principle is no different when it comes to women. In fact, it's amplified. Women, much like anyone else, are conditioned to want what they can't easily have, and the more distant or elusive a man seems, the more appealing he becomes. This ties directly into the Stoic understanding of scarcity and value. The Stoics recognized that what is rare and difficult to obtain is often more valued than what is readily available. In the context of relationships, this concept plays out in a very powerful way. A man who is always available, always showering a woman with attention, always eager to meet her every need, becomes predictable and, ultimately, less valuable in her eyes. But when you practice a certain level of detachment, when you don't respond immediately to every text or jump at every opportunity to be with her, you create a sense of scarcity around your attention. And scarcity breeds desire. Think about it. If you could have everything you ever wanted at the snap of your fingers, would you value it as much? Of course not. It's the things we have to work for, the things that require effort, that we appreciate the most. Women are no different. When you make yourself too easy to get, she doesn't have to put in any effort, and as a result, she doesn't feel the same level of desire or excitement. But when you make yourself a little more distant, a little harder to obtain, it ignites a spark. Now, she has to work for your attention, and that process of working for it makes her want you even more. This doesn't mean completely ignoring her or playing manipulative games. It's about balance. It's about showing her that while you're interested, you're not going to bend over backward to win her approval. You're not desperate. You're not going to chase after her like every other man who's fallen under her spell. And that's precisely what makes you different. Women are biologically and psychologically wired to appreciate men who are a challenge. It's part of the mating game that's been hardwired into human beings for centuries. When a man is distant or aloof, it triggers something primal in a woman's mind. She starts thinking about how she can win him over, how she can get him to notice her more. This chase becomes exciting, and that excitement turns into attraction. The Stoics, with their emphasis on self-control, would have understood the power of this principle. They believed that true mastery came from controlling one's impulses, and this extends to relationships. A man who can control his desire to constantly be available, who can resist the urge to chase after a woman, demonstrates a level of inner strength that is highly attractive. He's not controlled by his emotions or desires. Instead, he's in command of them, and this command makes him appear even more desirable. By making yourself a little more elusive, you force her to think about you. You become the man she can't easily have, and as a result, you're the man she wants the most. It's a psychological game that plays out in subtle but powerful ways. And the moment she starts chasing you, the dynamic shifts. She's no longer in control of the situation, you are. Chapter 4: Women are emotional. The Stoics believed that emotions, while powerful, could and should be controlled through reason and discipline. However, they also recognized that not everyone could master their emotions the way a true Stoic could. This is especially true for women who, by nature, tend to be more emotionally driven than men. Understanding this is key to understanding why ignoring a woman can have such a profound impact. Women are emotional creatures, and much of their behavior in relationships is driven by feelings rather than logic. When you ignore a woman or don't immediately cater to her emotional needs, it creates a certain level of emotional tension. And this tension is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it can be the very thing that makes her more attracted to you. You see, when a woman is ignored, it stirs her emotions. She starts to wonder why you're not responding. Is it something she did? Is there someone else? This uncertainty causes her emotions to spiral, and the more emotionally involved she becomes, the more she thinks about you. Ignoring her taps into her emotional side, and because women are driven by their emotions, this can be an incredibly powerful tool in creating attraction. This is where the Stoic principle of emotional control comes in. While a woman may be caught up in her emotions, the man who remains calm, composed, and in control appears even more attractive. He's not swept away by his feelings. He doesn't act out of desperation or neediness. Instead, he's grounded in his own sense of self, and this emotional stability makes him a rock in the storm of her emotions. The more you ignore her, or at least, the more you resist the urge to immediately satisfy her emotional needs, the more she becomes emotionally invested. She starts to feel that emotional tension, and it's that tension that keeps her thinking about you, wondering about you, and ultimately wanting you more. Chapter 5. Women test men constantly. Women have a natural instinct to test men. It's a subconscious process that they often don't even realize they're doing. But rest assured, if a woman is interested in you, she's going to test you. These tests are designed to gauge your strength, your confidence, and most importantly, your emotional stability. And one of the most common ways a woman will test a man is by withdrawing her attention or acting cold to see how he reacts. This is where many men fail. They panic. They become desperate. They start chasing after the woman, trying to win back her approval. But this is exactly what she's testing for. She wants to see if you can handle her emotional fluctuations without losing your cool. She's testing to see if you're strong enough to maintain your composure when things aren't going your way. When a woman pulls back, the worst thing you can do is chase after her. Instead, you need to remain calm, indifferent even. This shows her that you're not dependent on her attention for your sense of self-worth. You're not going to be rattled by her emotional games. And this is exactly what she's looking for. Women want a man who can handle their emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Ignoring a woman when she pulls back is one of the most effective ways to pass this test. It shows her that you're not going to be manipulated by her emotional ups and downs. It shows her that you're strong, that you're in control, and that you're not going to lose your composure just because she's acting cold. This is incredibly attractive to women because it demonstrates emotional maturity and strength. In the end, ignoring a woman, especially when she's testing you, is about showing her that you're not like every other man. You're not going to be easily swayed by her emotional games. You're not going to lose your cool just because she's acting distant. Instead, you remain calm, composed, and in control. And that's exactly what women are looking for in a man. Chapter 6. Women are drawn to mystery. There's something irresistibly captivating about a man who remains an enigma. The human mind is naturally curious. We are wired to want to know the unknown, to solve puzzles and mysteries. For women, this desire to uncover what's hidden extends into the realm of attraction. When a man keeps a certain level of mystery about himself, it triggers a woman's curiosity, drawing her in deeper. And how do you create this aura of mystery? By ignoring her, or at least not giving away too much, too soon. The Stoics believed in the virtue of silence and the power of restraint. They understood that not every thought or feeling needed to be expressed. This philosophy can easily be applied to relationships. When a man doesn't lay all his cards on the table right away, when he holds back certain details about his life, his thoughts, his feelings, he becomes more intriguing. Women love to figure out a man's inner workings, but if you reveal everything about yourself too quickly, you eliminate the excitement of discovery. By ignoring her, or by not responding in predictable ways, you maintain an air of unpredictability. She can't quite figure you out. Are you interested? Are you not? This uncertainty gnaws at her. She'll replay interactions in her mind, trying to decode your behavior. She'll talk to her friends about you, trying to get advice on how to get your attention. And the more she thinks about you, the more emotionally invested she becomes. Mystery fuels attraction because it engages a woman's mind as well as her emotions. The more you keep her guessing, the more invested she becomes in solving the puzzle that is you. The Stoics would have admired this form of restraint as it shows discipline over one's impulses. You don't feel the need to spill your every thought or emotion the moment you feel it. Instead, you let her wonder, let her imagination fill in the gaps, and in doing so, you become far more compelling than the man who is an open book. Another crucial aspect of maintaining mystery is keeping your life full and interesting outside of her. When you're not always available, when you have your own goals, hobbies, and interests that take precedence, it shows her that you're a man with depth, a man who doesn't need her attention to feel validated. You're a man who values his own time and space, and that makes her want to be part of your world even more. The less you reveal, the more she wants to know. The more time she spends thinking about you, the more emotionally invested she becomes. It's a cycle that keeps her coming back for more, wondering what's going on in your mind. And the longer you keep her guessing, the stronger her desire grows. Remember, women are emotional creatures, but they're also thinkers. A man who is too obvious, too available, or too predictable quickly becomes boring. But a man who is a bit of a mystery? That's the man who keeps her intrigued. By not always responding immediately to her texts, by not telling her everything about your day, by occasionally ignoring her in social settings, you create that mystery that women find so alluring. This doesn't mean playing games or being deceitful, it simply means exercising control over how much you reveal and when. The Stoics practiced this in their daily lives, understanding that not every truth needed to be spoken, not every emotion needed to be displayed. By adopting this philosophy in your interactions with women, you become the man who stands out from the rest. You become the man she can't stop thinking about because she's constantly trying to figure you out. In the end, women are drawn to men who make them feel something, whether it's curiosity, excitement, or even frustration. By keeping a certain level of mystery, you stir those emotions within her, making her more invested in you. And once she's invested emotionally, she's far more likely to care about you and pursue your attention. Chapter 7. Ignoring makes her question her own value. Perhaps one of the most powerful effects of ignoring a woman is how it makes her question her own value in your eyes. Women are accustomed to being the center of attention, especially from men who are eager to win their approval. When you don't give her that immediate attention, it creates a sense of self-doubt. Suddenly, she's no longer sure if she's as irresistible as she thought. This shift in perception is a game changer in how she views you and herself. The Stoics understood the power of self-perception. They believed that how you see yourself shapes your entire reality, and this applies to how women perceive their own desirability. A woman who is constantly validated by men begins to believe that her worth is tied to that validation. When you ignore her, you're challenging that belief. You're not feeding into the constant stream of attention she's used to, and this causes her to question herself. This may sound manipulative, but it's actually a natural psychological response. When someone doesn't receive the validation they expect, they start to wonder why. Is it something they did? Are they not attractive enough? Are they losing their touch? In a woman's mind, these questions can create a powerful emotional response, one that makes her care even more about what you think. By ignoring her, you're essentially shifting the power dynamic. Instead of her being the one in control of the interaction, where she expects men to chase after her, you're now the one holding the cards. She's the one who begins to chase after your attention because she needs to resolve the uncertainty you've created in her mind. This isn't about making her feel bad about herself. It's about creating a balance in the interaction where you're not constantly feeding her ego. A man who does this demonstrates that he's not swayed by her beauty or charm, and that makes him far more attractive. Women are drawn to men who can stand their ground, who don't crumble under the pressure of their allure. Ignoring her makes her question her own desirability, but more importantly, it makes her work harder to win your approval. She starts to care more because you're not giving her the easy validation she's used to. she begins to wonder why she hasn't caught your attention in the way other men have, and this causes her to become more invested in getting you to notice her. The Stoics would have seen this as a form of emotional discipline. By not giving in to the impulse to shower her with attention, you're exercising control over the situation. You're not allowing her to dictate the terms of the interaction. Instead, you're calmly maintaining your own boundaries, and that self-assuredness makes you far more desirable. In the end, women want to feel valued, but they also want to feel like they've earned that value. When you ignore her, or at least don't give her immediate validation, you're creating a dynamic where she has to put in effort to win your attention. And that effort makes your attention all the more rewarding when she finally gets it. This is why ignoring works so well. It's not about being cold or dismissive, it's about showing that you're not like every other man who's quick to validate her. You're a man who values himself, and that makes her value you more. Once she starts to care about what you think, the dynamic shifts, and she's the one who's eager to win your approval. In conclusion, the Stoics would have admired the self-discipline involved in ignoring a woman in the right context. It's not about manipulation, it's about understanding human nature and using that understanding to create a balanced, respectful dynamic where you're in control of your own emotions and actions. And in the process, you become the man she cares about and ultimately desires. Now that you've made it through the 7 reasons why ignoring women can make them care about you right away, remember this: it's not about playing games or being manipulative. The Stoics mastered the art of self-discipline, restraint, and understanding human psychology. By embracing these principles, you're not just ignoring for the sake of it, you're showcasing your strength, your confidence, and your value. Women are drawn to men who can maintain control of their emotions, who aren't desperate for validation, and who don't chase at the first sign of interest. When you pull back, you create intrigue, mystery, and a powerful shift in the dynamic, allowing her to invest in winning you over. So next time, practice a little Stoic self-restraint, let her come to you. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Share your own story or thoughts on the topic, and let us know if you've ever experienced the power of ignoring someone and how it played out. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, remember to keep your composure, stay grounded, and be the alpha male who knows his worth. See you in the next episode.